各位，在经历了一段全球市场的剧烈波动之后，中国资本市场正在悄然迎来新的风口。瑞银全球市场部中国负责人汤姆在最新的访谈中透露，无论是国际长期资金还是短期交易型资金，都重新把目光投向中国，甚至已经开始加仓。而过去几年被不断炒作的中美贸易战风险，正逐步淡出他们的风险清单。他的判断并非空穴来风，首先是资金流的微妙变化。瑞银亚洲会议20周年刚刚落幕，参会投资者数量创下历史新高，来自全球的机构投资者和本地大资金齐聚一堂。他们的共同焦点不再是观望，而是开始寻找可以落地的耐心资本机会。从高塔贝的人工智能供应链，到生物医药、新消费，再到稳健的高股息板块，都成为了热点。汤姆指出，虽然许多长线资金依然谨慎，但一旦宏观数据出现更有说服力的复苏迹象，全面的资金重新配置只是一个时间的问题。科技股依然是讨论的核心。中国头部 AI 和高端制造企业在过去1年经历过大幅上涨，但整体估值仍被处于合理区间。汤姆强调，全球投资者如今用中美深水区标准来横向对比，而不再是简单看哪一边更便宜。在人工智能、先进制造和深度科技领域，中国的龙头公司已经进入了全球机构投资者的核心观察名单。与此同时，投资价值和高股息策略也获得了南向资金的青睐。来自中国内地的保险公司、长期资金正在香港市场寻找防御型的机会，凸显出市场轮动的广度。换一句话说，中国市场已经不再是单纯依靠高增长题材，而是出现了从成长到价值的全面布局。那中美贸易谈判呢？汤姆给出的答案耐人寻味，这早已不再是全球投资者的主要风险。虽然谈判会持续，会反复，但更像是一个常态化的背景音乐，而并非影响市场的大雷。投资者真正关心的是中国经济的韧性。出口数据在全球普遍下滑的背景下依然有较好的预期，那就是证明。当然风险并没有消失，他提醒有2点要关注。第一个是监管机构如何引导流动性上涨，避免过热。第二是若全球市场突发大规模抛售，中国难以独善其身。从总体而言，他认为这些风险都是可控而且被市场合理定价的。在他的视角看，一个新的图景正在形成，国际资金开始从怀疑转向重新评估中国资产，中美摩擦不再是一个决定性的变量，真正驱动未来行情的是宏观复苏的信号，企业盈利的改善，以及全球流动的再分配。换一句话说，中国股市或许正在经历一个被低估的复苏。对于还在观望的投资者而言，汤姆的分享提供了一个清晰的信息，别再只盯着华盛顿的风向，中国本身的基本面和资金面正在给出更强的回报信号。我们看一下视频。
Well, we just finished our 22nd anniversary of Asia Conference a few weeks ago. So we have seen record attendees, both from global investor and the domestic. The overall, if you look at it on the back of very strong momentum, particularly in August, investors are really looking into China, both the long-term investors and also trading-oriented investors, both domestic and international.
Okay. I want to ask you a follow-up on the trading-oriented clients of the bank here. So what seem to be the preferred strategies right now? Like what have they been doing?
Well, there are a lot of fundamental-driven but short-term oriented clients. Obviously, the AI supply chain has been the focus, but overall, the biotech and the new consumption and then some of the other high beta name has been very much in focus.
Is there still hesitation for many to want to deploy more capital into this market here right now? I mean, in terms of the macro side of things, are they still focused on the fundamentals and waiting for maybe something more there before they actually get more or turn more bullish?
Yes, there are, I would say, skepticism from global investors, especially the long-term oriented, patient capital, if you will. So they are looking at broader-based rebound for all sectors, not only just the high beta one, but also, the beaten up, consumption names. The argument is, if it's fundamental plus the liquidity-driven rally with the lower risk-free rates and the risk premium, so it should justify for all sectors to grow. We have seen some of those rotation, and now we see the exchanges and regulator are also putting some messages to calm down some of the more hype sectors and have the broader rallies. Yeah.
So they're waiting. Is it fair to say that the patient money, they're waiting for the macro to turn and for that to look convincing before they reallocate in a bigger way back to Chinese equity markets?
I think people always, equity investors always invest ahead of the overall macro or economics, if you will. Right. So they want to see clear signals. If it's the anti-evolution campaigns, whether you trickle down into the profitability of the broader companies, and then they want to see liquidity spread broadly, not just a few high beta sectors. Okay. So those are the things they're looking for. We have seen some of the encouraging signs, and we'll continue to work with those investors to find those broader base rallies.
Opportunities, yeah.
What do I do with tech now? I mean, what do I do with tech now?
The high growth, high beta.
Well, I think so. This is the key theme, not just for China, globally, right? So this is what drives the U.S. market, and also the good news is the logic become aligned globally. So we have seen global investors looking at the sector holistically, compare valuation. So now, before it's quite hard to compare U.S. versus China. But now with DeepSeek and some of the comparables, they look at the overall tech, deep tech, high-end manufacturing and AI supply chain valuation in a sort of a like-for-like basis. So we have seen investors' overall sort of responses. Yes, the AI sectors, some of the leading names in China has rallied quite a bit, but compared to the forward-looking of 12 to 18 months, it is justifiable. But so this will be a 2-3 year story, so then they will have a sustained a longer-term rally.
What about the other themes that did well going into this one, but somehow got forgotten because of the tech rally? Things like dividends or value plays, for example.
Sure.
What about those other strategies?
But we still see, for example, for Hong Kong, because of there are, very solid number of southbound investors, especially from insurance companies, sectors from China. They are also taking that more conservative approach, looking at, value names and also high dividend yield names. So those continue to be, a good sectors to look at as well, especially with some of the uncertainty still lingering around tariff.
What do you think could really derail this equity rally? If you look at the rest of the year right now, whether it's trade tensions, whether it is any sort of policy or the lack of stimulus, or what do you think could actually derail this market?
But overall, I think many of the risk factor, I would say, is properly priced in. Okay. There are a few things, when we discussed during the conference earlier this month, could be Chinese, regulator being too heavy-handed in terms of this liquidity rallies. So we have seen, I think, regulator and exchange are relatively cautious in terms of how they guide the market. So that's one. The other one is whether a global market will have a larger sell-off. But with the Fed started easing, so that seems also a relatively manageable risk. So overall, we just need to look at all sectors. I think overall U.S.-China negotiation, the general, I think, consensus, this will be a medium-term, ongoing sort of negotiation. It's not a one-time deals, but the catalyst hopefully will be on the upside either today or the potential summit between President and Trump.
I'm wondering whether, I'm not sure how to state this more diplomatically, but I'll just say it bluntly. I wonder if investors still care about these trade negotiations? It doesn't seem to be featuring in many of these lists of risks to watch.
Yeah.
There seems to be other good reasons to ignore any potential friction between U.S. and China, for example. So I wonder, does it still come up in your conversations with clients?
It does.
Okay.
So, but it's relatively, I think it's also a reflection of the resilience of the company and the economy. So we priced in, our economists priced in a year-on-year decline of export. But if you look at the data, particularly to the rest of the world, actually overall, China's export has been very strong. U.S. also, down year-on-year down, but it's holding up relatively in a sort of better than expected level. But we need to see the detail, like what Steve said. So what happens during the talk today, and also the ongoing negotiations. But I think China is ready to make an overall concessions and also be prepared. This is not a one-off negotiation. It will be going on into October, into the year end, into next year.